The flickering holoscreen showed a panoramic view of the void, a swirling nebula of vibrant colors obscuring the distant stars. On the bridge of the aging, rusty vessel, the captain, a man named Xylos, watched the unfolding spectacle with a mixture of awe and resignation. "It's happening," he muttered, his voice rough with age. Beside him, his first officer, a young woman named Maya, her face etched with apprehension, replied, "We're outmatched, Captain. There's no way we can fight them." Their vessel, the Phoenix, was a relic from an era long past, cobbled together from scraps and salvaged parts. The technological marvel that was their only hope, the Quantum Slipstream Drive, was ancient, unreliable, and desperately in need of repair. Yet, it was their only chance against the approaching enemy, an armada of gleaming, sleek warships belonging to the Xylos, a race known for their technological prowess and merciless cruelty. The Xylos, having conquered countless worlds, saw humanity as a mere footnote in the galactic history. They were here to eradicate the remnants of this primitive civilization and claim Earth for their own. Their arrogance, however, blinded them to the subtle and intricate workings of the primitive Quantum Slipstream Drive, a technology they had long dismissed as obsolete. The Xylos were confident in their overwhelming firepower. Their ships, armed with weapons capable of vaporizing entire planets, hovered menacingly, their weapons humming with anticipation. They expected a swift, decisive victory. As the Xylos ships entered range, Captain Xylos gave the order to activate the Quantum Slipstream Drive. The Phoenix shuddered violently as the ancient engine roared to life, its pulsating energy warping the fabric of space-time around them. The Xylos, caught completely off guard, watched in disbelief as the rusty vessel disappeared, not in a flash of light, but in a ripple of distorted reality. Their confusion was short-lived. The Xylos, realizing their mistake, set off in pursuit. They had no idea that the primitive drive was capable of bending space itself, allowing the Phoenix to traverse vast distances in the blink of an eye. They chased, their weapons spitting fury, but they were always a step behind. The Phoenix was battered, but not broken. Xylos, a man who had witnessed the rise and fall of empires, knew that this was more than a mere flight from the Xylos. It was a race for survival, a desperate struggle for the future of humanity. With every jump, they traveled further into the unknown, leaving the Xylos further behind. The pursuit continued for weeks, months even. The Xylos, frustrated and enraged, grew desperate. They had never encountered such a tenacious opponent, a species they had deemed insignificant. The very notion of being outwitted by a primitive civilization was anathema to their pride. Meanwhile, the Phoenix limped towards its destination, a distant, uncharted galaxy, a beacon of hope in the vastness of space. Their escape had been a gamble, a leap of faith into the unknown. They emerged from the slipstream into a swirling vortex of celestial energy, a chaotic yet breathtaking display of cosmic power. On the other side, a world of unimaginable beauty awaited them. A world teeming with life, a world that promised a new beginning. The Xylos, their pursuit ultimately futile, watched as the Phoenix vanished into the swirling vortex, their weapons falling silent. They had underestimated the human spirit, the indomitable will to survive. They had underestimated the ingenuity of a species that, despite its primitive technology, had outsmarted them, outrun them, and ultimately outstood them. The Phoenix, battered and bruised, but triumphant, landed on the alien world, a testament to the power of human resilience. They were home. The Xylos were gone. And on that day, humanity had found its new beginning, not in a grand victory, but in a desperate escape, a testament to their humanity, their unyielding spirit, and their unwavering hope. The news of the alien armada's retreat had barely settled when Dr. Anya Petrova, the engineer behind the primitive spacecraft, found herself facing an unexpected audience, the world's leading scientists. They were a mix of awe and disbelief, their eyes fixed on the rickety, cobbled-together ship, a stark contrast to the sleek, pristine designs of their own spacefaring vessels. "How?" a voice boomed from the crowd. It was Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, the head of the Global Space Agency. "Explain this miracle." Anya, though exhausted, felt a spark of defiance. It wasn't a miracle, Dr. Tanaka. It was physics, plain and simple. We just understood it better than they did. She proceeded to explain the unorthodox design, highlighting the unconventional propulsion system based on an old, forgotten theory involving the manipulation of magnetic fields. The aliens, she argued, had relied on brute force, a technological dead end, while humanity had embraced ingenuity, a crucial difference in the face of unknown challenges. But her explanation was met with skepticism. Some dismissed her theory as a fortunate accident, a lucky shot. Others pointed out the ship's glaring limitations, its lack of advanced weaponry, its vulnerability to even a minor attack. Anya knew they were right. The ship was a one-off, a gamble that had paid off. It was a testament to human creativity, but hardly a sustainable solution. Just then, a flicker of static appeared on the screens. The alien communication signal, the one they had been struggling to decipher for months, was back. This time, it wasn't a threat. It was a plea, a desperate call for help. The screen displayed images of a ravaged alien vessel, a scene of utter chaos and destruction. A second ship, its hull scarred and smoking, limped towards them, its communication signal growing stronger. The scientists were stunned. They had feared the worst, but this was something else entirely. "It's an attack," Anya said, her voice a tense whisper. An attack from their own kind. The possibility of a conflict between alien factions was a horrifying thought. The consequences for humanity could be devastating. The alien vessel, its communication signal now clearer, transmitted a sequence of images, a fleet of ships, massive and sleek, bearing insignia unknown to humanity. The message was unmistakable. An enemy, far more advanced than the one they had just encountered, had launched an attack on their kind. Anya knew what this meant. The First Fleet was merely a scouting force, a test. Now, they had been revealed, the alien species vulnerable, their defenses weakened. The enemy was coming for them, and this time, humanity stood on the front lines. Their primitive spacecraft, a beacon of ingenuity, was no longer a curiosity, but a vital weapon in an escalating conflict that could decide the fate of two worlds. And Anya, the engineer who had defied the odds, was now humanity's only hope. The news of the alien armada's sudden retreat echoed through the cluttered control room of the Pioneer, a vessel barely a century old, cobbled together from salvaged parts and duct tape, yet somehow outrunning the most advanced alien technology. "What the hell just happened?" A gruff voice, belonging to Captain Thorne, boomed over the comms. He was a man of few words, but his eyes, hardened by years of survival in the harshest corners of the galaxy, mirrored the disbelief felt by every crew member. "It's impossible," muttered Dr. Anya Petrova, the ship's brilliant but often unappreciated astrophysicist, her hands trembling as she stared at the data on her console. "Their ships are 10 times faster than anything we've ever built. They shouldn't be able to just stop like that." Their improbable victory was a fragile one. The alien armada, a swarm of sleek, metallic behemoths, had been on a collision course with Earth, their intentions unknown but undoubtedly hostile. The Pioneer, a desperate gamble by a desperate humanity, had been their only hope. "Impossible?" Thorne scoffed, shaking his head. "There's no such word in space. It's a place where anything can happen, and the only rule is to survive." He paused, his gaze fixed on a blurry image on the main screen, an image of the last alien ship disappearing into the vast emptiness of space. They just retreated. The silence in the control room was heavy with unanswered questions. The aliens had come, they had been defeated, and they had left. Why? What was their purpose? And what was their next move? "We need to get to Earth," Thorne finally said, his voice firm. "We need to warn them. Tell them what we learned, what we saw." Their journey back was tense and fraught with uncertainty. Anya, despite her initial skepticism, began to delve deeper into the data they had collected, uncovering a startling truth. The aliens were not just advanced, they were ancient. Their technology was not just powerful, it was broken. The ships were riddled with flaws, vulnerabilities that had allowed the Pioneer, with its outdated technology and ingenious but desperate tactics, to outmaneuver them. "It's like they're deliberately sabotaging themselves," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the hum of the engines. "They're falling apart." It was a shocking revelation, but it also meant the threat wasn't gone. It was only delayed. The aliens might be on the verge of collapse, but they were still capable of immense destruction. Meanwhile, Thorne, his mind racing with strategies, discovered a new, unsettling twist. The alien armada hadn't just retreated, they had left a message, a single, cryptic transmission. It was a signal, a beacon, and it was directed towards a specific point in space. "They're calling someone," Thorne murmured, a cold dread creeping into his voice. "Someone powerful." The Pioneer, a relic of a forgotten era, was once again humanity's only hope. Their journey back to Earth was no longer a victory march, but a race against time. They were carrying not just the news of the alien armada's defeat, but also the knowledge of a far greater threat, a threat that was waiting in the shadows, waiting to answer the call. The fight was far from over, and the Pioneer, with its ragtag crew and outdated technology, was about to face the ultimate test. The flickering holographic image of the alien armada, a shimmering mass of sleek, metallic ships, hung before Captain Maya Sharma. "They're closing in, Captain," reported Lieutenant Chen, his voice tense. "We can't outrun them forever." Maya, with a grizzled face and eyes hardened by years of navigating the unforgiving expanse of space, stared at the image. The alien ships, with their advanced technology and intimidating presence, had been chasing them for weeks, relentless and unyielding. It was a David and Goliath scenario, only instead of a shepherd boy with a slingshot, they had a rickety, barely functioning spacecraft named the Phoenix and a crew of misfits, each with their own demons and doubts. Among them was Professor Singh, the aged genius who, against all odds, had managed to rig the Phoenix with a bizarre propulsion system that ran on a unique blend of recycled matter and salvaged energy. It was a system he'd pieced together from forgotten scientific principles, a testament to humanity's resilience. Singh, with his white hair and piercing gaze, was a walking paradox, a man who thrived in chaos. "We have to buy some time," he said, his voice shaking with fatigue, but unwavering in his resolve. "Time for what, Professor?" Maya asked, her voice sharp. "We're running out of fuel, our communications are on the brink of collapse, and we're facing an enemy that surpasses our technological understanding." Singh, his eyes fixed on the holographic image, spoke in a quiet voice. "They're not chasing us, Captain. They're hunting something we haven't discovered yet." His words struck a chord, a strange but familiar feeling of foreboding. Maya glanced at the crew, each face etched with worry. She knew Singh was right. The aliens were too methodical, too relentless. Their pursuit wasn't about conquering, it was about acquiring. But what? "Professor," Maya said, her voice grave, "if you're right, we have to find out what they want. It might be the only way to survive." And so began a race against time. The Phoenix, its engines sputtering, was pushed to its limits. They scoured the depths of the unknown, their every move watched by the relentless alien armada. The crew, united by a shared purpose, worked tirelessly. But then came the twist, a chilling revelation. The aliens weren't hunting for something, they were hunting for someone. And that someone was Maya. The realization hit her like a tidal wave. The aliens knew about her connection to a power they desperately sought. It wasn't about conquering or acquiring, it was about extracting. They wanted her, her power, her connection to a force they couldn't understand but craved. "They know, Captain," Lieutenant Chen said, his voice trembling. "They know about you." A wave of terror washed over Maya. The Phoenix was not just a vessel, it was a sanctuary, a haven for her unique gift, a gift that made her a target. The aliens were closing in, and they wouldn't stop until they got what they wanted. The fate of humanity, as it turned out, rested on her shoulders. But how could she save a species she barely understood, a species that had almost forgotten what it meant to be human, when she was being hunted by beings from another world? beings who saw her not as a savior, but as a source of power. The Phoenix, its engines sputtering, flew on, a lone beacon of hope in the vast, uncaring universe. And as the alien armada closed in, Maya, the woman whose fate was intertwined with that of her species, had a choice to make. A choice that would determine the fate of humanity. A choice that would reveal the true meaning of their primitive, yet defiant, existence. The silence in the bridge was thick, punctuated only by the hum of the engines. Commander Anya Petrova stared at the shimmering, ever-growing screen depicting the retreating alien fleet. Her heart hammered in her chest, a counterpoint to the rhythmic pulse of the ship. "It's impossible," muttered Dr. Elias Khan, his gaze fixed on the control panel. "They have technology centuries beyond ours." He ran a hand through his graying hair, frustration etched on his face. Anya, usually the epitome of calm, felt a tremor of fear. The aliens had been ruthless, conquering planets with their advanced weaponry, and leaving behind only ashes and silence. Yet, here they were, fleeing from a cobbled-together ship from the backwaters of the Milky Way. "Impossible is our specialty, Elias," Anya replied, her voice steady. "Remember, they underestimated us. They assumed we were still primitives." Anya glanced at the ship's navigator, Sergeant Mark Ivanov. The usually jovial young man sat rigid, his face pale. His eyes, however, shone with an unexpected fire. "It's not just the technology, Commander," he said, his voice low. "They're afraid of us." Anya's eyebrows rose. "Afraid? Of what?" Mark looked back at the screen, his gaze focused on the retreating enemy. "Their sensors, they can't read our intentions. They've never encountered anything like it. Our ship, our technology, it's chaotic, unpredictable." Anya understood. Their ship, the Phoenix, had been cobbled together from scavenged parts, a Frankensteinian monstrosity that defied logic and protocol. It was a jumble of incongruous systems, patched together with duct tape and sheer ingenuity. The aliens, used to predictable, sophisticated technology, were caught off guard. But as the relief settled in, a new wave of anxiety surged. The aliens had left, but they weren't defeated. They would return, stronger, more prepared. "We bought ourselves some time, but it's not enough," Anya said, her voice firm. "We need to understand them, their technology, their motives." "But how?" Elias asked, his voice laced with despair. "We're facing an enemy we can't comprehend." Anya stared at the receding alien ships, a flicker of defiance in her eyes. "We'll find a way. We have to." And as the Phoenix sailed into the vast expanse of space, the crew, driven by a newfound sense of urgency and purpose, realized that the true battle had just begun. The fight to understand the aliens, the fight for their own survival, and the fight to secure a future for humanity in a galaxy teeming with unknown dangers. A future where they weren't just primitives, but pioneers, explorers, and, most importantly, survivors. The alien fleet vanished, leaving behind a void filled with uncertainty. A new twist in the story emerged. The aliens had captured a small, unmanned probe belonging to the Phoenix. On the alien flagship, the probe lay dormant, its data a cryptic puzzle for the enemy to decipher. And as the alien scientists delved into its chaotic, unpredictable workings, they began to fear the implications. The Phoenix, with its ramshackle technology, wasn't just a random anomaly. It was a harbinger, a testament to a civilization that could outmaneuver them with the sheer force of their unique, chaotic ingenuity. A civilization that could be a threat they never anticipated. The initial exhilaration of outrunning the alien armada was quickly replaced by a chilling reality. Our primitive spacecraft, cobbled together from scrap and fueled by the audacity of a handful of desperate souls, was hurtling through the void, a fragile cork in a cosmic ocean. We had evaded the enemy, but we were still light years away from home, adrift and alone. Captain Anya Petrova, a woman whose weathered face bore the weight of countless missions and a lifetime spent staring into the abyss, stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the swirling nebula ahead. "We need to assess the situation," she announced, her voice a low rumble that echoed through the cramped command module. "We're running out of fuel, and our escape pod's navigational system is shot. We're in uncharted territory, and we have no idea what lies beyond that nebula." The tension in the room was palpable. Liam O'Reilly, the brilliant but reckless engineer who had cobbled together our vessel, fiddled nervously with a cluster of blinking lights. "We could try to jump through the nebula," he suggested, his voice tight. "The gravitational pull could slingshot us towards the nearest star cluster." "And risk getting caught in a black hole," Anya countered, her gaze unwavering. "Or worse, end up on the wrong side of the galaxy? We're already outmatched in terms of technology. We can't afford to play risky maneuvers." "Then what do we do, Captain?" asked Dr. Evelyn Chen, the paleontologist and biologist whose expertise in extraterrestrial life forms had been instrumental in our escape. "We can't just sit here and wait for them to find us." "We have to find a safe haven," Anya declared, her eyes sweeping across the faces of her crew. "A place where we can regroup, repair the ship, and devise a plan for the future. But it has to be somewhere the aliens wouldn't expect." Anya's words sparked a wave of determination through the crew. They were more than just a ragtag band of survivors. They were humanity's last hope. We needed to think outside the box, to leverage our ingenuity and knowledge to outwit the alien aggressors. As the ship plunged into the nebula, a blinding flash of light erupted, momentarily blinding the crew. The ship shuddered, its instruments sputtering and groaning. A strange, pulsating energy field enveloped us, distorting the view outside the viewport. "What's happening?" Liam cried, scrambling to check the engine readings. "The energy levels are spiking. We're overloading." Anya quickly took command. "Evade maneuver, Liam, now!" she shouted, her voice steady despite the rising panic. The ship lurched violently as Liam adjusted the controls. The energy field pulsed around us, a kaleidoscope of colors and shadows. Then, as abruptly as it began, the flash of light subsided, leaving behind a chilling silence. The nebula had shifted, revealing a vast, swirling vortex of nebulae. We had been thrust into a galactic anomaly, a gateway to a hidden sector of the universe. The energy field had not destroyed us, but it had transported us somewhere else entirely. We were no longer running from the enemy. We were on the edge of the unknown, facing a new and even more daunting challenge. Our journey, it seemed, was far from over. The news of the alien armada's retreat spread like wildfire. A collective gasp of disbelief was followed by a tidal wave of relief. Humanity had, against all odds, outmaneuvered and outgunned a technologically superior force. But the celebration was muted, tinged with a profound sense of unease. Captain Maya Petrova, the commander of the Phoenix, the rickety, cobbled-together vessel that had spearheaded the resistance, was a woman of stoic demeanor. Yet, even she couldn't hide the tremor in her voice as she addressed her crew. "We won, but this is no time for victory parades. The enemy has retreated, not surrendered. They're out there, lurking in the shadows, regrouping. We have to figure out why they pulled back, and we have to prepare for their inevitable return." The silence that followed Maya's words was heavy with unspoken questions. It was Dr. Anya Sharma, the brilliant astrophysicist who had cracked the alien weapon code, who broke the tension. "There's something else," she said, her voice laced with concern. "The readings from the scout ship's sensors, they're strange." Anya's words sent a ripple of anxiety through the crew. The scout ship, a lone, unmanned vessel sent ahead to investigate the armada, had inexplicably vanished a few hours before the main force retreated. Its last transmission was a garbled message, filled with unintelligible data spikes. "What are you talking about, Anya?" asked Lieutenant Mark Johnson, the pilot whose daring maneuvers had saved the Phoenix countless times. Anya pulled up the sensor readings on the main screen, her fingers tracing the jagged lines. "These spikes, they're not just random, they seem to be a signal, a coded message. I haven't managed to decipher it yet, but it's definitely deliberate. The enemy sent it before they retreated. They're trying to tell us something." The crew was stunned. Why would the enemy, after being defeated, send a coded message? What could it possibly contain? Maya, however, had a hunch. "Whatever it is," she said, her voice resolute, We have to find out. This is our only chance to understand them. We have to find that scout ship. The Phoenix set course for the last known coordinates of the scout ship. It was a dangerous journey, venturing into unknown territory, but the crew was determined. This wasn't just about their own survival anymore. It was about understanding the enemy, about deciphering the message they had sent, and perhaps about finding a way to avert the coming war. As the Phoenix navigated through the treacherous asteroid field where the scout ship had vanished, a new complication arose. The ship's energy reserves were dwindling rapidly. The battle had taken its toll, and the makeshift repairs they had managed to make were not holding up. The crew faced a grim choice: continue the search for the scout ship and risk running out of power, leaving them stranded and vulnerable, or turn back and conserve their energy, leaving the message a tantalizing mystery. Maya stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the flickering screens. She knew what she had to do. This was a gamble, but it was a gamble they had to take. "We're going to find that scout ship," she announced to the crew, "even if it's the last thing we do." The news of humanity's audacious escape spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The alien armada, the Zarthan, who had boasted of their superior technology, were left stunned. Their advanced warships, marvels of engineering, had been left in the dust by a cobbled-together vessel, a testament to the raw ingenuity of a species they considered primitive. But the jubilation was short-lived. Captain Anya Petrova, the woman who had orchestrated the escape, felt a growing unease. The Zarthan were not known for their patience. They would be furious, and they would be coming. "We're not safe yet," Henya said, her voice a low rumble in the cramped control room of the Odyssey. The crew, a diverse group of scientists, engineers, and pilots, gathered around the flickering screens, their faces etched with both relief and worry. Dr. Kai Chen, the brilliant astrophysicist who had deciphered the Zarthan's communication signals, nodded in agreement. The escape was a miracle, but it's only the first step. The Zarthan are relentless. They'll chase us to the ends of the galaxy. The Odyssey wasn't just a spacecraft. It was a sanctuary, carrying the last vestiges of human civilization. The ship housed a diverse group of people, each with their own story, their own hopes and fears. There was Dr. Elena Ramirez, the geneticist, burdened with the responsibility of ensuring the survival of their species. There was Liam O'Connell, the pilot, whose recklessness sometimes overshadowed his skill. And there was young Maya, a prodigy in engineering, whose bright eyes held an unwavering belief in humanity's future. But the pressure was mounting. The Zarthan were relentless, their pursuit unwavering. The Odyssey was forced to take desperate measures, venturing into uncharted territories, skirting treacherous black holes, and dodging cosmic hazards. The ship creaked under the strain, the constant hum of its engines a constant reminder of their precarious situation. Then came the twist. A faint signal, a whisper from the depths of the cosmos, reached the Odyssey. It was another civilization, one that had been watching their flight, their escape. The signal carried an unexpected message, a message of caution. "They call themselves the Arcturians," Dr. Chen announced, his voice filled with a mixture of hope and apprehension. "They warn us that the Zarthan are not the only threat. They speak of a force even more ancient, more powerful, a force that the Zarthan themselves fear." Anya looked at the crew, their faces dimmed by the flickering light of the screens. The weight of responsibility, of leading the last remnants of humanity, felt heavier than ever before. They had outsmarted the Zarthan, but now they faced an unknown enemy, an enemy shrouded in mystery, an enemy whose motives were as opaque as the vast expanse of the cosmos. The journey had just begun, and it was only the beginning of a struggle for survival that would test the limits of their courage and their ingenuity. The news of our victory reverberated through the solar system, a beacon of hope in the face of annihilation. Yet, amongst the celebration, a quiet anxiety lingered in the cramped confines of the primitive ship. Captain Anya Petrova, her silver hair streaked with the fatigue of weeks on end, paced the bridge, her eyes fixed on the star charts. "We need to understand them," she said, her voice tinged with worry. "Why did they attack? And what's their endgame?" The ship's AI, a scrappy, snarky program named HAL 2.0 inches a homage to a bygone era, chimed in with a dry, "Well, they probably weren't expecting us to beat them with a toaster oven and duct tape, Captain." Dr. Samuel Sam Lee, the ship's astrophysicist, looked up from his terminal, his brow furrowed. Their technology was far beyond anything we could imagine. Yet, they were defeated by our ingenuity. And that's what scares me. We don't even know what we're fighting. The silence that followed was thick with unease. Anya knew Sam was right. The aliens, known as the Xanthians due to their skins shimmering, jade-like hue, had been a mystery from the start. Their motivations were unknown, their technology seemed impossibly advanced, and their intentions decidedly hostile. Then, HAL 2.0 announced, "Incoming transmission. Origin unknown, but originating from a point in space within the Xanthian fleet's former position." Anya's heart skipped a beat. "Intercept it," she ordered, her voice a strained whisper. The screen flickered, revealing a holographic figure. It was humanoid, but with features distinctly alien: 3 eyes, skin that shimmered like opalescent glass, and elongated limbs. The figure spoke in a language that sounded like wind chimes, but HAL 2.0 translated it in real time. "We surrender," the figure rasped, its voice weak. "Our fleet is crippled. We offer no resistance." The crew erupted in a chorus of disbelief. Anya was skeptical. "Why surrender now? Why not before?" she asked through HAL 2.0. The figure's voice became a choked rasp. "A virus. Our technology, it has been compromised. We have no means to fight." Anya's gaze darted to Sam, who was already frantically typing. "Could it be their own technology turning against them?" he asked, his voice barely a murmur. Anya nodded slowly. "It's possible, but why?" The holographic figure coughed, the image flickering. "We have been manipulated. The virus, it was not our own. We were pawns in a larger game." The figure faded, the transmission cut abruptly. Silence fell over the bridge, the weight of the revelation heavy in the air. Anya knew they couldn't believe everything the Xanthians said, but the possibility was too terrifying to ignore. They weren't alone in this cosmic struggle. There was someone else, someone even more powerful, pulling the strings. This victory, though sweet, had only just begun. The real war, Anya knew, had only just begun. The news of humanity's unlikely victory spread like wildfire across the battered remnants of Earth. A wave of relief and disbelief washed over the survivors, but the celebrations were tinged with a profound sense of unease. The primitive spacecraft, affectionately nicknamed the Rusty Bucket by its crew, was a testament to human ingenuity and sheer luck. It was a far cry from the sleek, advanced warships of the invading Xylos, yet it had outmaneuvered their every attempt at capture. Captain Elena Petrova, the woman behind the Rusty Bucket's improbable triumph, was not one for celebrations. Her weathered face, etched with the lines of hardship and countless sleepless nights, held a quiet intensity. Her mind was already formulating the next steps. The Xylos were defeated, but they were not vanquished. They were still out there, lurking in the shadows of the cosmos, and Elena knew it was only a matter of time before they regrouped. "We need to understand them," she told her crew, gathered in the dimly lit command center. "Why did they come here, and what do they want?" The question hung heavy in the air. The Xylos, with their advanced technology and grotesque appearance, had seemed like a force beyond comprehension. But amidst the chaos of their attack, Elena had noticed something peculiar. They had avoided direct contact with humans, seemingly intent only on disabling Earth's communications and defenses. Their behavior hinted at a more complex agenda. "They're not just conquerors, Captain," said Lieutenant Sato, a young, brilliant engineer whose mind was as sharp as his wit. "Their technology is too sophisticated for simple conquest. It's almost surgical. They're like a virus, targeting specific systems." "A virus?" Elena echoed, her brow furrowing. The thought was unsettling. It fit the Xylos' behavior, their precise, efficient strikes aimed at crippling Earth's infrastructure. But why? The answer came from an unexpected source. a small, wiry man named Dr. Simon Kanzari, the ship's resident astrophysicist. He had been analyzing intercepted Xylos transmissions, deciphering their complex language, and his eyes widened as he stumbled upon a disturbing revelation. "It's not a virus, Captain," he said, his voice trembling. "It's a trap. The Xylos are trying to lure us into their web. Their technology is designed to ensnare sentient beings, to integrate them into their hive mind." The room fell silent. The Xylos weren't conquerors in the traditional sense. They were parasitic, aiming to subvert and absorb entire civilizations, not destroy them. The Rusty Bucket's victory had been a stroke of luck, but it had merely delayed the inevitable. A new, terrifying urgency gripped Elena. The Xylos were not defeated. They were merely waiting, and their goal was far more insidious than anyone had imagined. The fight for humanity had just begun, and the Rusty Bucket, now a symbol of hope and defiance, was on the front lines. The cheers of the crew reverberated through the cramped confines of the Arcturus, a vessel that looked more like a rusty tin can than a ship of the future. They had just pulled off the impossible, outrunning the alien armada that had come to claim Earth. Captain Anya Petrova, her face grimed with sweat and worry, stared out the observation window at the retreating enemy warships. They were still there, a black swarm against the backdrop of the Milky Way, but they were moving slower, their advance stalled. "They're outmatched," said Dr. Elias Ben Ezra, the ship's engineer, a wiry man with a shock of white hair and eyes that burned with the fire of 1,000 suns. "Those ion drives can't keep up with our old-fashioned plasma thrusters." "We were lucky," Anya muttered, her fingers tracing the worn grooves of the ship's control panel. "Just lucky they didn't bother to analyze our technology before attacking." Elias snorted. "They probably thought we were primitives, Anya. They couldn't have known we held on to this. He couldn't find the word. It wasn't just a secret weapon. It was a forgotten relic of a time when humanity had dared to push the boundaries of physics. It was a technology that even the most advanced alien minds couldn't comprehend. "The Phoenix Project, Elias," Anya finished for him, a bittersweet smile playing on her lips. They couldn't have known. The Phoenix Project had been a top-secret program, a last-ditch effort to save humanity from an impending environmental collapse. It had yielded the most advanced propulsion system ever devised, capable of achieving velocities that bordered on the impossible. But then the project was shelved, deemed too dangerous, too unstable. And now, thanks to that decision, their salvation lay in a forgotten technology, a ticking time bomb that could easily turn on them. The celebration was short-lived. Anya's communicator crackled to life, a holographic image of a grim-faced man appearing before her. General Sergei Petrov, her father and Earth's chief defense strategist. "Anya," he said, his voice tight with urgency. "They're sending a scout ship. It's smaller, faster, and it's heading straight for you." Anya's heart sank. She knew the scout ship would be armed with advanced scanners, their technology far superior to anything they possessed. If they detected the Phoenix Project system, it would be over. The alien armada would adapt, and they would be nothing more than a sitting duck. "We have to disappear," she said, her voice laced with urgency. "We need to find a place they won't look." Elias, his brow furrowed in concentration, scanned the ship's systems. "There's a black hole anomaly in the Andromeda Galaxy," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "It's unstable, but it could distort our signature. We can jump in, get on the other side, and they'll never find us." The risk was enormous. Even if they survived the jump, they would be stranded in an uncharted territory, alone and cut off from Earth. But it was their only chance. Anya knew the decision was a gamble, but the alternative was annihilation. She looked at Elias, her eyes mirroring his determination. "Let's do it, Elias," she said, her voice resolute. "We've survived this far. We can survive this too." The Arcturus roared into life, its ancient engines straining against the pull of the black hole. The future of humanity, their last hope, was hurtling into the unknown. And for Anya and Elias, it wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about finding a new home, a new beginning. But as they crossed the event horizon, a new twist emerged. The Phoenix Project system, in its final act of defiance, triggered a strange anomaly, a ripple in the space-time continuum. They weren't just jumping across the galaxy, they were jumping across time itself. The Arcturus, their primitive spacecraft, had outrun the alien armada, but it had also stumbled into a mystery far deeper than they could have ever imagined. The future of humanity, now tethered to the whims of time itself, was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the fight for survival had just begun, on a playing field far larger and stranger than they could have ever imagined. The news of the alien armada's retreat echoed across Earth, a wave of relief washing over humanity. But within the cramped confines of the rickety vessel, the Pioneer, there was no jubilation, only a tense silence. Captain Amelia Reyes, her face etched with worry, stared out at the swirling nebula that lay ahead. "They're not gone," she finally said, her voice strained. "They're regrouping. We need to buy time, find a safe haven." Her first officer, a wiry young man named Kai, looked at her with a mix of respect and apprehension. "We're barely holding this ship together, Captain. We're practically scrap metal at this point." Amelia's gaze hardened. "We have to make it work. We're the only hope they have left. Humanity's hope." The Pioneer had been a technological marvel in its day, a relic of a time when humanity dared to dream of interstellar exploration. But decades of neglect and lack of funding had left it a shadow of its former glory. Its ancient engines sputtered and groaned, its shields were patched together with duct tape and prayer, and its weapons were barely functional. Yet, in the face of the alien threat, this rusty vessel had become a beacon of hope, a symbol of humanity's resilience. Amelia had joined the Pioneer as a young astrophysicist, fascinated by the mysteries of the universe. But she had never imagined she would be thrust into the role of a commander, leading a desperate mission to save her species. Kai, on the other hand, had grown up in the post-apocalyptic wasteland that Earth had become. He had witnessed the horrors of the alien invasion firsthand, and he was determined to fight for a future that wouldn't be ruled by the invaders. He was a skilled engineer, capable of making the most out of their limited resources, but he was also haunted by the memories of his lost family. Their bond, forged in the crucible of their desperate journey, had grown into a deep respect and understanding. The new complication arose from the depths of the nebula. As they ventured deeper, the Pioneer was caught in a powerful gravitational anomaly. The ship lurched violently, its old engines struggling to maintain control. "We're losing power," Kai yelled, his face white with fear. "The anomaly's pulling us in." Amelia, her eyes narrowed in focus, held onto the command console. "We need to get out of here. We can't risk being trapped by this gravity well." But the anomaly was too strong. The Pioneer was caught in its grip, its engines sputtering like a dying bird. As they struggled against the relentless force, a message flickered on their communication screen. It was from the alien armada, their language translated into English. "We know your location," it read. "Surrender, and your planet will be spared." Amelia felt a cold dread creep down her spine. They were trapped, their last hope of escape slipping through their fingers. "They're playing for time," Kai said, his voice heavy with despair. "They want us to come to them, so they can finish us off." Amelia, her heart pounding in her chest, knew that they had no choice but to fight. They had to make their final stand, even if it meant certain death. "They don't know the spirit of humanity," she whispered, her voice trembling. "We'll fight them to the last breath. We'll never give up." She glanced at Kai, seeing the flicker of defiance in his eyes. They were both aware that their odds of survival were slim, but they wouldn't surrender without a fight. They had to fight for humanity, for the future, for the very essence of their being. Their last stand was about to begin. The roar of the engines filled the cockpit, a primal symphony of defiance against the colossal alien armada. Captain Anya Petrova, her eyes fixed on the flickering navigation display, felt the tremor in her hands. The alien warships, sleek and obsidian, were closing in, their energy weapons flashing like malevolent fireflies. It was a David and Goliath scenario, But instead of slingshots, humanity had its ramshackle, cobbled-together, primitive spacecraft. Anya had spent years studying the ancient texts, deciphering the secrets of the primitive technology, a relic of a forgotten era. It was a gamble, but one she was willing to take for the survival of humanity. Her team, a motley crew of scientists, engineers, and ex-military personnel, shared her desperate hope. The first salvos from the alien ships struck the primitive with a jarring force. The ship shuddered, but held strong, thanks to the ingenious but outdated shields designed by Dr. Kaito Tanaka, a stoic, bespectacled man who had spent his life studying the ancient blueprints. "They're using an energy signature we haven't encountered before," Kaito announced, his voice tense but steady. "It's bypassing our defenses." "Can you adapt the shields?" Anya demanded, her voice a clipped, urgent whisper. Kaito's brow furrowed. "It's possible, but it'll take time. We'll need to divert power from the engines." Anya knew this was a dangerous gamble. The primitive relied on brute force, its engines constantly straining to outrun the alien armada. Losing even a fraction of their speed could mean disaster. "We have no choice," she gritted out. As the alien ships drew closer, the primitive pulsed with an almost living energy. Kaito's team, working feverishly, managed to adapt the shields, diverting precious power from the engines. The alien weapons, now encountering a resistance they hadn't anticipated, began to falter. Suddenly, a deafening crackle filled the cockpit. The ship lurched violently. "Damage report," Anya barked, her eyes darting to the blinking consoles. "One of the engines is failing," a young engineer, Liam, reported, his face pale. "We're losing speed." Anya's heart hammered against her ribs. It was a catastrophic blow. The alien ships, their energy weapons now fully charged, aimed for the primitive, their death rays converging on their target. But then, as if sensing their impending doom, the alien ships suddenly halted, their weapons sputtering and dying. The entire fleet froze, their silent menace chilling the crew. "What's happening?" Anya whispered, her voice barely audible above the hum of the dying engine. "I don't know," Kaito said, his eyes wide with confusion. "But I think they're scared." It was an inexplicable turn of events. The alien armada, a force that had terrorized countless civilizations, seemed to be retreating in fear. But why? The crew stared at the now stationary alien ships, their minds reeling with possibilities. The mystery deepened as a single alien ship, smaller than the others, detached from the formation and began to move toward the primitive. It approached cautiously, its hull shimmering with strange lights. "What should we do?" Liam asked, his voice trembling. Anya felt a surge of adrenaline, a mix of fear and anticipation. She knew this encounter could hold the key to understanding the aliens, and perhaps even their own survival. "We wait," she said, her voice firm. "We wait and see." The initial elation of outrunning the alien armada soon gave way to a chilling realization. We weren't just escaping them, we were abandoning Earth. The vast emptiness of space stretched around us, cold and indifferent, and our rickety vessel, the Vanguard, felt like a tiny, fragile speck in its immensity. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Dr. Anya Petrova, the architect of our improbable escape, paced the cramped control room, her face a mask of worry. The burden of countless lives rested on her shoulders, and the weight of it was evident in the trembling of her hands as she monitored the ship's systems. "We need to find a new home," she muttered, her voice strained. "A place where we can rebuild, start over." Captain Marcus Jackson, a grizzled veteran of the now defunct Earth Space Command, stood by her side, his gaze fixed on the star charts. "There's a possibility," he said, his voice raspy. "A system about 100 light-years out. A red dwarf with a habitable zone, several planets. We can make a course for it, but—" He paused, the air heavy with unspoken fears. They were running on borrowed time. The Vanguard was cobbled together from salvaged parts, held together by duct tape and the hope of desperate men. The fuel reserves were dwindling, and the enemy, we knew, wouldn't give up easily. A low hum rippled through the ship. It was Sarah, the ship's AI, her voice a calming presence. Energy levels fluctuating. Suggest course correction to conserve power. Anya glanced at the readings. We're cutting it close. Sarah, what's the status on the energy generators? Primary generators reaching critical levels. Suggest engaging auxiliary generators. Marcus frowned. The auxiliaries are unstable. We risk a catastrophic overload. We have no choice, Anya said, her voice resolute. We have to risk it. The tension in the room was palpable. We were playing a high-stakes game of survival, and every decision could be our last. As the ship lurched, adjusting its course, a new alarm sounded. Captain, sensor readings show a hostile object approaching, Sarah's voice echoed through the ship. We froze. We were being pursued. But this was no alien ship. It was something far more terrifying. An anomaly, a chaotic vortex of energy, defying all known laws of physics. It pulsed with an energy so raw, so potent, it made the Vanguard shudder. What is it? Marcus asked, his voice barely audible. It quotes an anomaly, Anya said, her face pale. I've never seen anything like it. It's like a tear in the fabric of space-time. The anomaly grew closer, its energy waves lashing against the Vanguard. We braced ourselves for the inevitable. Then, something unexpected happened. The anomaly seemed to hesitate, then began to curve away, avoiding the ship. What's happening? Anya whispered. Sarah's voice, usually a beacon of calm, now trembled with a hint of awe. It is recognizing us. The anomaly moved on, leaving behind a trail of chaotic energy, like a bewildered giant swatting at a gnat. Recognizing us? Marcus repeated, his eyes wide. What does that mean? Anya shook her head, a bewildered look on her face. I don't know, but it feels important. Maybe we're not just fleeing. Maybe we're being guided. As the Vanguard hurtled towards the new star system, the question lingered in the air. Were we just a species on the run, or were we destined for something more? The answer, we realized, was shrouded in the vast mysteries of space, a mystery we were now deeply entwined in. Captain Alara stared out the viewscreen, her jaw clenched. The alien armada, a colossal, shimmering fleet, dwarfed their battered, rusty freighter. It was a scene ripped straight from a holodrama, except this was real, terrifyingly real. Alara had always been a cynic, scoffing at the tales of galactic empires and warring alien races. Now, faced with the reality, she felt a primal fear gnaw at her. Captain, her first mate, the gruffly handsome Kaito, reported, his voice calm despite the tension crackling through the bridge. Their weapons are still offline. We're still undetected. How long until they activate? Alara asked, her voice tight. Hard to say. Could be minutes, could be hours, Kaito said. They haven't activated their long-range scanners yet. That's what we need to exploit. Their ship, the Rusty Bucket, was a relic, a cobbled-together mess of salvage parts, a relic of a forgotten era. Yet, its antiquated technology had one advantage. It was invisible to the advanced alien scanners. A quirk of fate, or perhaps a cruel joke. Alara glanced at the holographic map of the asteroid field, their current refuge. They had been running for weeks, ever since the first contact with the alien fleet, a terrifying event that had sent shockwaves through the human colonies. The aliens, a technologically advanced species known as the Zython, were ruthless, their empire sprawling across the galaxy. Their motives were unknown, but fear had become the dominant emotion in the human sector. Alara, a woman of action, had decided to fight back. They were a small, desperate crew, but they were not going to become another conquest for the Zython. They had to buy time for the human colonies to organize, to rally and fight. Suddenly, the ship shook violently. A warning klaxon blared, red lights flashing. Incoming fire, Kaito yelled, his voice strained. Shields, Alara barked. The viewscreen flickered with the blinding light of a plasma blast, then went black. Report, Alara shouted, her heart pounding in her chest. Shields at 20%, the damage. Kaito's voice trailed off. What is it? Ilara demanded. The Zython have deployed scout ships. They're using some kind of new, localized scanner, Kaito said, his voice grave. Our invisibility is gone. They've found us. The air in the bridge was thick with tension, the silence broken only by the hum of the ship's engines and the frantic beeping of the damaged control console. Ilara, we have to go to hyperspace. Now, Kaito urged. Ilara looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and resolve. She knew this was their last chance. They had to risk it all. Prepare for hyperspace jump, she commanded. Set coordinates for the Kepler system. We need to reach the hidden human outpost there. Kaito nodded, his face grim. He initiated the hyperspace sequence, the ship shuddering as the engines roared. Just as the ship entered the hyperspace tunnel, a colossal Zython vessel exploded in a blinding flash, its wreckage scattering across the asteroid field. A message appeared on their communication screen. You are being hunted. You cannot escape. Ilara stared at the message, her mind racing. A new twist, a new enemy. The Zython were not the only threat. There was another, more powerful entity, a player in this galactic game they barely understood, and they were now caught in the crossfire. The news of the primitive craft's victory reverberated through the human fleet. The initial disbelief morphed into a giddy, almost religious fervor. Captain Elena Ramirez, still shaken from the harrowing encounter, felt the weight of that fervor on her shoulders. She had led them to victory, yes, but it was her crew, her diverse band of engineers, technicians, and strategists who had defied all odds. The victory had come at a cost. The primitive craft, a relic of Earth's fledgling spacefaring days, had been damaged beyond repair. Its crew, a motley bunch of astronauts, technicians, and scientists, had risked their lives to pilot the vessel. They had been the ones who had managed to exploit the limitations of the alien technology, turning their weaknesses into strengths. Elena knew the real victory lay not in the primitive craft, but in the ingenuity and resourcefulness of her crew. Their victory was a testament to the resilience and adaptability of the human spirit. Yet, the victory also underlined a sobering truth. The aliens were far more advanced than they had initially anticipated. Their technology was still beyond human comprehension. The celebratory atmosphere, while welcome, felt hollow. Elena knew the real battle was far from over. The aliens would be back, and they would be smarter, stronger, and more determined. She needed to understand them better to predict their next move. Elena called a meeting with her crew. We have won this battle, but the war is far from over, she announced, her voice serious. We need to understand the aliens, their technology, and their motivations. We need to prepare for the next encounter. The crew responded with nods and murmurs. They were a team, united by a common purpose. Suddenly, one of her senior engineers, Dr. Maya Sharma, spoke up. Captain, she began, her voice tinged with a hint of concern, our sensors are picking up a new signal. It's faint, but it's definitely alien in origin. A wave of tension washed over the bridge. Elena's heart pounded in her chest. Was it another attack, or something else? Run diagnostics, Elena ordered, her voice firm. Identify the source and nature of the signal, and contact Earth. We need to know what we're dealing with. As the crew scrambled to fulfill their orders, Elena felt a chilling realization. They had won a victory, but they had only glimpsed the tip of the iceberg. The true challenge was just beginning. They were in uncharted territory, facing an enemy that they barely understood, and the stakes were higher than ever. The new signal, they discovered, was not a threat. It was a transmission, a message of sorts, but not in any language they could decode. It was complex, beyond human comprehension. The message was not hostile, but it was also not friendly. It was unintelligible. Elena looked at the data on her screen, a knot tightening in her stomach. This wasn't just a message, it was a coded puzzle, an invitation. What do you think it means, Captain? Maya asked, her voice filled with apprehension. Elena stared at the message, her mind racing. I don't know, Maya, but it's something we need to figure out. The aliens may not be hostile, but they are definitely not our friends. This message could be a key to understanding them. Or it could be a trap. She made a decision. We're going to decipher this message. We need to know what it says, what it means, and what the aliens want from us. They were facing a new challenge, a new mystery. The victory they had achieved was now a stepping stone, a prelude to the greater struggle to come. And Elena, along with her crew, was ready to face it. The triumphant cheers of the crew of the Prometheus echoed through the cramped control room as the last alien ship, a hulking leviathan of obsidian and crackling energy, fell away from the edge of the solar system, a smoldering wreck. The victory was bittersweet, a testament to human ingenuity and determination, yet stained with the blood of their fallen comrades and the knowledge that this wasn't the end. Captain Anya Volkov, her face streaked with soot and sweat, surveyed the damage. The Prometheus, a relic of a forgotten age, had taken a beating. Its aging hull was scarred, the engine strained under the constant pressure of maneuvering against the alien armada. The crew, a motley bunch of engineers, scientists, and former military personnel, were exhausted, their bodies aching from the constant adrenaline rush. "How many?" Anya asked, her voice hoarse. 17, Captain, reported the navigator, a wiry man named Simon, his eyes red-rimmed. And, he hesitated, his voice cracking, "the biolab, it's gone." Anya's heart sank. The biolab, under the charge of Dr. Helena Ramirez, had held the key to understanding the aliens' technology, their motivations. Now, with its destruction, their chances of peace, or even survival, were hanging by a thread. "Helena?" Anya asked, her voice tight. Simon shook his head. "She was the last one out. They took her." The news hit Anya like a physical blow. Helena, a brilliant scientist with a passion for knowledge, was now a prisoner of the alien race that had tried to obliterate humanity. "We have to get her back," said Dmitri, the ship's engineer, his face grim. "We can't let them learn our secrets, especially from her." "But how?" Anya asked, her voice shaking. "They're gone, scattered across the galaxy, a phantom fleet." "We know their weakness," said Simon, his eyes glinting with a newfound resolve. "Their energy signature, their technology," he went on to explain his theory, a daring plan that involved exploiting the aliens' reliance on a specific energy source. It was risky, bordering on suicidal, but it was their only chance. Meanwhile, on an alien vessel, Helena Ramirez, bound and gagged, observed her captors with a mix of fear and fascination. Their language was a symphony of clicks and hums, their physiology, a terrifying blend of technology and flesh. Yet, there was a flicker of something else in their eyes, something that hinted at something beyond the aggression that had driven them to attack. She noticed one, a young female with shimmering skin and luminous eyes, who seemed to study her with a curious intensity. Helena had a feeling this alien, who communicated through telepathic impulses rather than words, held the key to understanding their intentions. As the Prometheus hurtled towards the enigmatic energy source, a new twist emerged. The alien fleet, instead of simply scattering, was converging on the same point, creating a powerful energy field that pulsed with an ominous rhythm. Was this a trap, a final act of aggression, or something else entirely? The fate of humanity, and Helena's freedom, hung precariously in the balance. The Prometheus was about to face its most perilous challenge yet, a challenge that would force them to confront not just their enemies, but also the very nature of their own humanity. The cheers from the bridge of the Odyssey were cut short by a voice crackling through the comms. "Captain, we've lost contact with the rearguard." It was Lieutenant Akira Sato, her voice tight with worry. Captain Anya Petrova felt a cold knot tighten in her stomach. The rearguard, comprised of their two remaining old-style fission ships, were their only hope of holding off the main alien armada, while the Odyssey, a sleek, experimental vessel, attempted to reach the jump point to escape. They were the only ship left capable of making the jump, a risky maneuver that could leave them stranded in a hostile sector. "Akira, report," Anya demanded, her voice steel. "What's the situation?" "They're heavily outnumbered, Captain. Multiple ships are bearing down on them, and their shields are failing." Anya glanced at the holographic map of the battlefield, her heart heavy. The alien ships, insectoid in design, and with a terrifying array of weaponry, were overwhelming the fission ship's meager defenses. The two old ships, relics of a time when humanity was just beginning its journey into the stars, were facing a seemingly impossible task. But there was no time for despair. Anya had a duty to the crew of the Odyssey and to humanity's future. "Keep trying to contact the fission ships," she ordered, her voice hard. "Try all channels, and prepare the Odyssey for the jump. We're leaving in 5 minutes." The bridge crew scrambled, their movements precise and practiced. A sense of urgency, bordering on panic, pervaded the air. They knew what the loss of the fission ships meant, the last vestiges of humanity's defense against this alien menace. But just as Anya was about to give the order for jump, a faint signal pinged on the comms console. It was from the fission ships, and it was a message of defiance. "Odyssey," the voice of Commander Hiro Nakamura, captain of one of the fission ships, crackled through the comms. "We're holding them off. You get to the jump point and take this message to Earth. Tell them we died defending them. Tell them, we're not giving up." The transmission cut off abruptly, replaced by a barrage of static. The alien ships were closing in. Anya felt tears welling in her eyes, but she forced them back. She had a duty to fulfill. "Jump in 3 minutes," she commanded, her voice barely a whisper. As the Odyssey prepared for the jump, Anya couldn't help but think of the fission ships, and the brave men and women who were sacrificing themselves to buy humanity a chance at survival. She hoped, with a heart filled with grief and determination, that they had bought them enough time. But she knew, deep down, that the battle was far from over. The Odyssey plunged into the jump point, leaving behind the wreckage of the fission ships and the relentless advance of the alien armada. They were alone, but they were also humanity's last hope, and Anya Petrova, her heart heavy with loss, knew she would do whatever it took to ensure that hope didn't die. As the Odyssey emerged from the jump, a new threat loomed on the horizon, a single alien ship, unlike any they had encountered before. This ship was massive, a behemoth of metal and weaponry, and it was clearly designed for one purpose: to destroy. This was not the end of the fight, it was only the beginning. The exhilaration of outrunning the alien armada faded quickly, replaced by a chilling reality. We were adrift, far from home, in a desolate corner of the galaxy. Our antiquated ship, the Pioneer, creaked and groaned under the strain of its unexpected journey. Captain Zara, her weathered face etched with exhaustion, stared out the viewport at the swirling nebula ahead. Her eyes, usually filled with an unwavering optimism, now held a flicker of despair. "We've bought ourselves some time," she admitted, her voice raspy, "but we're still in the dark." "How much time?" asked Lieutenant Kai, his young face tight with concern. He had been the driving force behind the Pioneer's improbable escape, his ingenious tinkering the only thing that kept the ship running. "Enough to reach the dead star, I hope," Zara replied, her voice catching. "The only known haven in this sector." The dead star was a pulsar, a collapsed star pulsing with intense radiation. For Earth, it was a beacon of death. For us, it was a beacon of hope. Legend had it that a long-forgotten civilization had developed a technology that could harness the pulsar's energy, creating a sanctuary from the dangers of the galaxy. "But what if the legends are just that?" "Legends?" questioned Dr. Anya, the ship's astrophysicist, her gaze fixed on the pulsating star on the navigation screen. "We can't afford to gamble on what-ifs," Zara retorted, her voice hardening. "Our only chance is to reach the dead star and pray for a miracle." The weeks that followed were a blur of repairs, calculations, and a constant gnawing fear of the alien armada. Kai, fueled by an almost fanatical determination, worked tirelessly on the ship's engine, pushing it beyond its supposed limits. Anya, her mind constantly buzzing with theories, searched for clues in the nebula's strange energy fluctuations. Zara, burdened by the weight of her crew's lives, tried to maintain a facade of composure. One night, Anya stumbled upon a disturbing anomaly. "Captain," she called, her voice strained, The nebula's energy signature. It's fluctuating. The fluctuations are mimicking the pattern of the dead star's pulses. The news sent a shiver through the ship. What does it mean? Zara asked, her voice devoid of its usual warmth. It could mean the dead star is dying, Anya said, her voice laced with fear. It could be collapsing, taking its sanctuary with it. Zara's face hardened. This was their only chance, and now it was slipping away. Despair threatened to engulf them, but Zara fought it back. She had always believed in the power of human ingenuity. We can't give up, she declared. We have to find a way to harness the nebula's energy. We have to make our own haven. The idea was radical, bordering on lunacy, but it was their only hope. Kai, fueled by desperation, embraced the challenge. He poured himself into studying the ship's systems, searching for a way to tap into the nebula's energy, a desperate gamble against the universe. Anya, however, had a nagging suspicion. Captain, she said, her eyes filled with concern. What if the nebula isn't dying? What if it's a trap? A trap? Zara's voice was laced with disbelief. But why? Why do you think the aliens are chasing us? Anya countered, her voice tight. They haven't attacked us directly. They've been playing a game, leading us to this anomaly. The possibility hit Zara like a physical blow. The aliens had lured them into a trap, a deadly dance designed to end their desperate flight. But why? The answer came as a chilling realization. The aliens had chosen their prey with a cruel irony. The Pioneer was no ordinary ship. It held a secret, a weapon of immense power. The aliens were not after them. They were after what they carried. The truth was more terrifying than any imagined trap. Their ship, the Pioneer, was not just a relic of the past. It was a beacon of the future, a remnant of a long-forgotten experiment that had the potential to reshape the galaxy. The aliens were not after them. They were after the very essence of humanity. The story took a sudden turn. They were no longer just running for their lives. They were custodians of a dangerous legacy. Their journey was no longer just about survival. It was about the future of a species. And that future was suddenly very uncertain. The bridge of the Old Glory, a vessel cobbled together from salvaged parts and sheer determination, was a symphony of beeps, clangs, and the occasional swear word. Captain Riley, a grizzled veteran with more scars than a battle-hardened warrior, stood frozen at the helm, his weathered face a mask of disbelief. The readings were unmistakable. The alien armada, a terrifying force of sleek, metallic warships, was closing in. They're gaining on us, Captain, reported Lieutenant Miller, her voice strained. Our escape route is closing fast. Riley clenched his jaw, his weathered hands gripping the controls. The Old Glory, a patchwork relic of a bygone era, was no match for the alien vessels. They were armed with weapons that could vaporize entire planets, while the Old Glory relied on repurposed weaponry from a forgotten war. But the old captain knew something the aliens didn't. The heart of humanity beat within the rusting hull of the Old Glory. He remembered the desperation, the fear, the determination that had driven them to build this ship. He remembered the sacrifices, the lives lost, the hope they carried. Hold your course, he commanded, his voice cracking. We're going to make a stand. The crew exchanged nervous glances. They knew the odds were stacked against them. But they also knew that Riley, a man who had survived countless battles and witnessed the fall of civilizations, would never give up. Captain, are you sure? Asked Lieutenant Miller. We can still take the escape route. We can't run forever. Miller, Riley interrupted, his gaze hardened. They'll track us down. We need to strike a blow, to show them that humanity doesn't surrender. As the alien warships drew closer, Riley ordered the crew to prepare for an all-out assault. They had one ace up their sleeve, a stolen prototype weapon, a weapon that could disrupt the enemy's communication network. It was a risky gamble, but it was their only chance. Fire at will, Riley roared, his voice echoing through the bridge. The Old Glory, a sputtering, wheezing relic, unleashed a barrage of outdated weaponry. The aliens, surprised by the resistance, retaliated with devastating force. The bridge shuddered, alarms blared, and the crew fought to maintain control. Suddenly, a chilling silence descended. The alien ships stopped, their movements frozen in mid-air. The Old Glory, seemingly untouched, held its breath. But the moment of relief was short-lived. A new threat materialized. A single, massive ship, unlike any they'd encountered before, appeared on the horizon. Its sleek, menacing form pulsed with an eerie, pulsating light. It's the flagship, gasped Miller. They're sending in the big guns. Riley's face hardened. This was not just a battle for survival. It was a battle for the future of humanity, and he wouldn't back down. Prepare to engage, he ordered, his voice unwavering. We may be outgunned, outmatched, but we're not giving up. But as the flagship approached, a new twist unfolded. A message, in a language unknown to humans, flashed across the Old Glory's screens. It was not a threat, but a request, a plea. The aliens, it turned out, were not just a force of destruction. They were a desperate people, fleeing a far greater threat, and the Old Glory, a seemingly primitive vessel, was the only hope they had. The Old Glory, once a relic of a forgotten war, was now at the center of a cosmic drama. They were not just fighting for their own survival, but for the fate of two entire civilizations. And as the crew of the Old Glory grappled with this unexpected revelation, they knew that this fight was far from over. Captain Anya Petrova gripped the armrests, her knuckles white against the worn leather. Outside the window, the alien armada stretched across the vast emptiness of space, a terrifying spectacle of glittering ships and pulsating energy weapons. Each ship, a grotesque monument to alien technology, dwarfed the rusty, cobbled-together vessel she commanded. This is madness, Captain, the navigator, a grizzled old man named Sergei, said, his voice shaking slightly. They're closing in. We're no match for them. Anya glanced at Sergei, his weathered face creased with fear. She understood his fear. Their ship, the Phoenix, was a patchwork quilt of salvaged parts, cobbled together from the wreckage of humanity's last stand. It was barely functional, and the alien armada that pursued them was a technological marvel, far beyond anything humans had ever conceived. We have no choice, she replied, her voice firm despite the tremor in her chest. We have to make it to the nebula. The nebula? Sergei scoffed. It's a graveyard, a haven for pirates and outcasts. We'll be just as dead there as we are out here. It's our only chance, Anya said, her eyes fixed on the flickering holographic display that showed the encroaching armada. They can't follow us into the nebula. It's too dangerous. The nebula was a swirling vortex of dust and gas, a chaotic region of space that was considered impossible to navigate. It was a gamble, but it was their only chance. As the alien ships closed in, the Phoenix's crew scrambled to prepare for their desperate attempt to escape. The engineers worked feverishly to push the battered engines to their limits, while the gunners loaded the archaic, but powerful, plasma cannons. Suddenly, the communication console crackled to life. A garbled, distorted voice filled the bridge, speaking in a language they didn't understand. It was a message from the alien armada. This is the Terran flagship, the voice said, its tone cold and menacing. We are from the Galactic Federation. Surrender your vessel, and we will spare your lives. Anya stared at the console, her heart pounding in her chest. The Federation. Their reputation preceded them. They were known throughout the galaxy for their ruthlessness and their insatiable appetite for conquest. We won't surrender, Anya replied, her voice steady. We'll fight to the last man. But as she spoke, a wave of nausea washed over her. A gnawing feeling of unease twisted in her gut. The message wasn't just an ultimatum, it was a warning. There's something wrong, Anya said, her voice barely above a whisper. They're not just trying to capture us, they're trying to destroy us. Sergei looked at her, confusion etched on his face. Destroy us? He repeated. Why? Anya didn't have an answer, but as she watched the alien ships close in, she knew they were in for a fight far more desperate than they could have imagined. The Galactic Federation was not just a conqueror, it was a predator, and they had targeted the Phoenix. a twist. The alien armada wasn't simply after the Phoenix's technology or resources. They were hunting humanity for a darker reason. They had discovered a hidden secret, a secret that made the existence of human civilization a threat to the galactic order. The nebula wasn't just a haven for pirates and outcasts. It was a place where this secret could be protected, a place where humanity could potentially fight back, even against the might of the Galactic Federation. The cheers from the bridge of the Odyssey were short-lived. The alien armada, though outmaneuvered, wasn't defeated. Their ships, sleek and obsidian, were still a formidable force, firing back with laser beams that carved trails of fire across the void. Each hit on the Odyssey reverberated through the ship, a jarring reminder of their vulnerability. Captain Anya Petrova, a veteran of countless skirmishes in the Sol system, watched the battle unfold with a stoic expression. She knew the Odyssey was outmatched in firepower. Their technology was crude compared to the aliens, cobbled together from scavenged parts and sheer human ingenuity. But they had one thing the aliens didn't, a crew united by a shared desperation. "Report," she barked, her voice firm despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Engine overload in 3 minutes, Captain," reported Lieutenant Kim, his face pale under the harsh bridge lights. Anya gritted her teeth. They had used every trick in their book to outrun the alien ships. But their engines were straining, the ancient technology pushing its limits. Their only hope was to reach the coordinates sent by the mysterious Guardian, a beacon of hope in a sea of despair. "Prepare for jump, Lieutenant," she ordered, her voice betraying a flicker of uncertainty. "We're taking a gamble, but it's our only chance." The alien ships, realizing their prey was about to escape, converged on the Odyssey, their laser fire intensified. The bridge crew braced for the inevitable. The ship shook violently as the jump drive activated, the ship folding in on itself, disappearing into the fabric of spacetime. But something went wrong. The jump was unstable, the ship bucking violently. Anya felt a sickening lurch in her stomach as she was thrown against the command console, her head spinning. "Report," she cried, trying to regain her composure. "Jump drive malfunction, Captain," yelled Lieutenant Kim, his voice laced with panic. "We're losing control." The Odyssey was caught in a chaotic vortex of space and time, its hull groaning under immense stress. They were not in the unknown zone they had hoped for, but in a pocket of space-time the Guardian had predicted would exist. The only problem was, it was a pocket of space-time that was tearing the Odyssey apart. Anya knew the ship wouldn't hold much longer. They were doomed. But as she looked at the faces of her crew, etched with a mixture of fear and defiance, she realized they wouldn't go down without a fight. "We're not giving up," she declared, her voice unwavering. "We're going to find a way out of this." A sudden tremor shook the ship, causing a crack in the bridge's viewport. The void beyond, a shimmering abyss of stars, flickered and distorted. Anya saw the Guardian, a giant, pulsating sphere of energy, hovering just outside their shattered window. It was a sight that defied all their understanding, a force of nature beyond human comprehension. But in that moment, Anya knew it was their only hope. "Prepare to be beamed aboard, crew," she ordered, her voice ringing with newfound determination. "This may be our last stand, but we'll go down fighting." The Odyssey shuddered one last time, before being engulfed by the swirling energy of the Guardian. Anya, with a final look at the faces of her crew, braced for the unknown. Their journey, far from over, was about to take a turn they could never have imagined. The alien armada, a shimmering constellation of warships, pulsed with a malevolent energy, their weapons systems humming with anticipation. Yet, the human scout ship, the Pioneer, zipped away with surprising speed, leaving a trail of defiance in its wake. It wasn't just the audacity of its escape, but the sheer absurdity of its design that baffled the alien commanders. Captain Anya Petrova, a woman as weathered as the ship she commanded, gripped the controls, her eyes burning with a fiery resolve. She was a veteran of the Martian wars, a woman who had seen more than her fair share of bloodshed and despair. Now, faced with an intergalactic threat, she felt a strange sense of calm, a grim determination that fueled her actions. "This isn't a game, Captain," warned Lieutenant Mark Johnson, his youthful face etched with worry. "We're just delaying the inevitable. They'll catch us." "Don't underestimate the Pioneer, Mark," Anya countered, her voice a calm steel. "This ship may look primitive, but it's a marvel of ingenuity. Our engineers made sure it was the fastest, most maneuverable craft in the galaxy, and that's just what we need right now." She had inherited the Pioneer from her father, a renowned engineer who had spent years meticulously crafting it, a love letter to the golden age of space exploration. It was a testament to human ingenuity, a ship that defied the conventional wisdom of its time. The Pioneer was a fusion of old and new, a patchwork of salvaged parts and cutting-edge technology, a testament to human resilience. It was a ship that, in the face of overwhelming odds, proved that the spirit of innovation could still triumph. Their escape, however, was not without its challenges. The Pioneer's antiquated systems struggled to keep pace with the relentless pursuit of the alien warships. The constant hum of the engines, a symphony of strain and desperation, became their soundtrack. Anya pushed the ship to its limits, her every move a desperate gamble, each decision a tightrope walk between victory and oblivion. Suddenly, the ship lurched, the warning lights flashing red. They were caught in a powerful gravitational field, a hidden anomaly, a cosmic trap set by the aliens. "This is bad," Mark muttered, his voice tight with fear. "Not necessarily," Anya countered, her mind already strategizing. "They underestimated us, and they underestimated the Pioneer. This is our chance." Anya had a plan, a risky maneuver, a chance to exploit the anomaly's gravitational pull and slingshot the Pioneer out of the alien armada's grasp. It was a desperate gamble, a last roll of the dice, but it was their only hope. The gravitational pull intensified, pressing the Pioneer against its limits. Anya activated the ship's experimental slingshot system, a risky technology still in its infancy. The ship lurched violently as the anomaly's gravity pulled it through a wormhole, throwing it into hyperspace, a chaotic realm of swirling colors and unimaginable energy. The alien armada, caught in the gravitational anomaly's grip, was left behind. The Pioneer had escaped, but at a cost. The ship was damaged, its systems overloaded, its crew exhausted. They had bought time, but how much time remained? As they emerged from hyperspace, a new twist presented itself. Instead of the empty void, they found themselves in a bustling alien marketplace, a swirling chaos of strange creatures and alien languages. The Pioneer had not escaped the aliens, but landed right in the heart of their territory. Their escape had taken an unexpected turn, a twist that would force them to fight not only for their survival, but for the very fate of humanity. The story had taken a dramatic new turn, the future uncertain, but the human spirit burning with defiance. The silence in the bridge of the Phoenix was almost deafening. The comms crackled with static, a stark contrast to the vibrant chatter of the last few hours. Captain Elena Diaz, her face etched with exhaustion and concern, watched the chaotic tapestry of flickering stars on the main view screen. The alien armada, a horrifying spectacle of metallic behemoths, had fallen silent, its relentless pursuit seemingly abandoned. "Captain, it's happening again," announced the helmsman, a young man named Kai, his voice tinged with trepidation. "Their engines, they're fluctuating, like they're losing power." Elena's heart skipped a beat. Their desperate gamble had worked. They'd used their primitive, handcrafted ship's maneuverability and the chaotic space debris field as a shield, forcing the alien vessels into unstable maneuvers. But it was a fragile victory, one that could be reversed at any moment. "What's the status of the repairs?" she asked, her gaze turning to the chief engineer, a grizzled veteran named Max, whose hands were stained with grease and sweat. "Still critical, Captain. We bought some time, but it's a ticking bomb." Max's voice was gruff, but his eyes held a flicker of hope. "We're patching the hull, but the damage to the warp drive is extensive. We're barely holding together." The news brought a wave of despair. They'd outrun a technologically advanced civilization, but their victory was a Pyrrhic one. Their ship was a wounded beast, gasping for air in the cold vacuum of space. "How long until they recover?" Elena pressed, her gaze fixed on the retreating forms of the alien ships. "They're still unstable, Captain," Kai replied, his fingers dancing across the control panel. "They're like wounded animals. It could be hours, days, or they might even lose power completely." "And if they do regain their strength?" Elena asked, her voice barely a whisper. Max, his face drawn with worry, replied, "We're sitting ducks, Captain. They'll catch us before we can even react." Elena stared out the window, her mind racing. They had managed to survive, but their fate was still uncertain. As they watched, a new threat emerged from the swirling nebula surrounding them. It was small, almost insignificant compared to the alien warships, but it was unmistakably hostile. A single, sleek vessel, pulsating with a sinister energy, emerged from the cosmic dust cloud. It was unlike anything they'd ever seen before, a black, obsidian-like ship, with impossibly sharp edges and a sinister aura. "Captain, we have an incoming transmission," announced Kai, his voice strained. The message was brief, stark, and terrifying. It was a warning, a threat delivered in a language they couldn't understand. But the message was clear. The alien armada was not the only threat they faced. The black ship, the silent assassin, was a force to be reckoned with, and they were its next target. Elena knew they had a decision to make. Should they try to run, desperately hoping to escape the clutches of both the alien armada and the black ship, or should they fight, knowing that their chances of survival were slim? Her gaze met Max's. "We have to make a choice, Max," she said, her voice firm despite the growing fear. "We fight or we die." Max, his eyes reflecting the flickering lights of the control panel, nodded slowly. "We fight," he said, a newfound determination hardening his features. "We fight for humanity." As the black ship drew closer, a wave of adrenaline surged through the crew of the Phoenix. The odds were stacked against them, but they were humanity's last hope. The fight for survival was just beginning. The news of the alien armada's retreat, broadcasted across the world, was met with a mixture of relief and disbelief. The human race, barely a century into space travel, had managed to outrun a force that seemed unstoppable. The triumph, however, was overshadowed by a creeping dread. What was the real reason for their retreat? Captain Anya Petrova, the commander of the Spirit of Humanity, the rickety spacecraft that had defied the odds, felt the weight of the unknown. Though hailed as a hero, she couldn't shake off the feeling that they had simply bought time, a dangerous game with the clock ticking. Her anxieties were amplified by the presence of Dr. Hiroshi Sato, the brilliant but eccentric astrophysicist whose unorthodox calculations had predicted the alien retreat, using data gleaned from the ancient Voyager probes. Hiroshi, his eyes perpetually locked on the pulsating screens displaying real-time star charts, announced, "The Armada is regrouping. They're heading towards the Kuiper Belt." The crew exchanged apprehensive glances. The Kuiper Belt, a region of icy debris beyond Neptune, was known for its unpredictable and unforgiving environment. The aliens, with their advanced technology, could easily manipulate its celestial bodies. "Why the Kuiper Belt?" Anya demanded, her voice tight with tension. Hiroshi looked up, his gaze intense. "They are searching for something. Something that can explain their presence here, their purpose." His words sent a shiver down Anya's spine. The crew had been piecing together the alien threat from intercepted communications, enough to know they weren't hostile, at least not yet. But their actions, the cryptic messages, the sudden retreat, all pointed towards a desperate search for something, a clue to their past. Anya knew they had to decipher the aliens' objective, and the only one who could unlock the puzzle was Hiroshi. She had to trust his brilliant, but often erratic, mind. The Spirit of Humanity, a battered vessel cobbled together from the best parts of Earth's outdated space program, embarked on a perilous chase through the inhospitable expanse of the Kuiper Belt. The frigid temperatures, unpredictable meteor showers, and gravitational anomalies tested the vessel's aging systems and the crew's resilience. One day, as Anya was reviewing the ship's logs, a chilling realization hit her. The alien signals, originally focused on the galactic core, were now concentrating on a specific region of the Kuiper Belt. That region, according to the old, dusty files, was where a derelict alien vessel had been detected decades ago. The news sent shockwaves through the crew. Their initial assumption of the aliens being explorers was now tainted with a chilling possibility. They were searching for their own lost legacy. Anya looked at Hiroshi, who was absorbed in a complex calculation. "Hiroshi," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "we need to get to that derelict ship before them. And fast." He looked up, his eyes wide with understanding. "You're right. The aliens are desperately looking for their lost history. They're not just explorers anymore. They're searching for their identity." The game had changed. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about the fate of two species, intertwined by a mystery spanning across the vastness of space. The race was on, a desperate scramble for the truth that could either bring peace or ignite a war for the future of the galaxy. The cheers in the cramped, ramshackle control room of the Rusty Bucket died down, replaced by a nervous silence. Captain Anya Petrova, her face smeared with sweat and grime, stared at the holographic readout. The alien armada, a monstrous swarm of sleek, obsidian warships, had vanished from their sensors. "They're gone," Anya said, her voice tight. "Just like that." "Maybe they finally realized we were too tough for them," joked First Officer Alexei, trying to lighten the mood. He was a young, cocky engineer who had never seen a real battle before. Anya, though, couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that something was terribly wrong. "They wouldn't just give up," she muttered, her gaze fixed on the flickering lights of the control panel. The Rusty Bucket was a relic of a bygone era, a patchwork vessel cobbled together from scavenged parts and forgotten technology. It was hardly a match for the alien armada, but it was all humanity had left. Their mission, to reach the distant planet of Kepler 186f, a potential new home for the remnants of their dying civilization. The armada's sudden retreat had been a stroke of luck, but Anya knew it couldn't be a coincidence. The aliens were too intelligent, too strategic to just abandon their pursuit. Then, a flicker on the comm screen caught her eye. A faint, distorted signal, barely audible over the static. Anya leaned forward, her heart pounding. "What is it?" Alexei asked, his face tense. Anya focused on the signal, her brow furrowed in concentration. It was a voice, distorted but recognizable as the alien's strange, clicking language. But this wasn't a threat, it was something else. A plea? A warning? It took Anya several minutes, aided by the onboard translator, to decipher the message. The aliens were not retreating, they were fleeing. A deeper, more terrifying threat was on their tail, something far more powerful than they had ever imagined. Anya's heart sank. The aliens had come to Earth for resources. They were desperate. But they weren't the true enemy. Anya looked at the young Alexei, his face now pale with fear. "We're not alone in this," she said, her voice firm, but tinged with a hint of trepidation. "And the real danger is about to catch up with us." The Rusty Bucket, a battered vessel carrying the hopes of humanity, was now caught in a cosmic game of cat and mouse, with a predator far more sinister lurking in the shadows. The fight for survival had just become a whole lot more complicated, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The cheers from the bridge of the Odyssey were still ringing in Captain Zara's ears, but a chilling dread was slowly replacing the initial euphoria. They had outrun the alien armada, but at what cost? Their primitive spacecraft, cobbled together from salvaged parts and sheer ingenuity, had defied all odds, but its limitations were starkly apparent. The Odyssey was battered, groaning under the strain of the near-light speed jump, its engines sputtering like a dying beast. "Captain, we're losing power," reported Engineer Anya, her voice tight with worry. The holographic display flickered, showing a cascade of red alerts. Zara knew this was no ordinary power fluctuation. This was the final gasp of their makeshift vessel. "How much time do we have?" Zara asked, her voice clipped, not allowing fear to creep into her tone. Anya's face was grim. 30 minutes at most, Captain, and we're still on a collision course with the Xyloian homeworld." Zara's mind raced. The Xyloians, a technologically advanced race, had been a terror in the galaxy, known for their ruthless expansion and their hatred of anything primitive. Outmaneuvering their fleet was a triumph, but a Pyrrhic one. They were now at the doorstep of their enemy, their craft on its last legs, their crew on the verge of exhaustion. But Zara was not one to surrender. She scanned the bridge, her eyes landing on Lieutenant Kenji, the navigator. His face was drawn with fatigue, but his eyes still held a glimmer of resolve. "Kenji," she said, "can you make another jump? We need to get out of their territory." Kenji looked up, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. "Captain, our engines are barely holding on. Another jump could be fatal." "We have no choice," Zara replied, her voice firm. "The Xyloians will find us eventually. We need to buy some time." Kenji nodded, his jaw set. He began inputting coordinates into the navigation system. Zara knew the risks, but it was a gamble they had to take. She looked at the crew, their faces etched with fear and weariness, but also with a strange sense of determination. They were a ragtag band of misfits, united by a shared sense of purpose, to protect humanity. Suddenly, the bridge lights flickered, and the engines sputtered violently. Alarm bells blared, and a wave of fear washed over the crew. Anya swore under her breath. "The engines are failing." Zara felt a surge of icy dread. They were trapped, their escape route blocked by their own failing vessel. Then, a new alert flashed on the display. "Captain, incoming transmission. Xyloian origin." Zara's heart pounded in her chest. This was it, the end. But as she prepared herself for their final confrontation, a different thought entered her mind. Maybe this was not an attack. Perhaps it was a message, an opportunity, a chance to communicate, to negotiate, to offer something in exchange for their lives. Maybe, just maybe, this was not the end, but the beginning. The alien armada, a swarm of sleek, obsidian vessels, had been humbled. The Earth's primitive spacecraft, the Phoenix, a cobbled-together marvel of ingenuity and desperation, had outmaneuvered them, leaving them sputtering and confused in the vastness of space. The crew, a diverse band of scientists, engineers, and soldiers, erupted in cheers. "We did it!" Captain Maria Sanchez exclaimed, her voice choked with emotion. "We actually did it." But their celebration was short-lived. A chilling message crackled through the comm system, a warped, distorted voice in a language they couldn't understand. A single word, repeated over and over, subordinate. What the hell was that? Lieutenant James O'Connell, the ship's comms officer, looked at Maria, his face pale. A shiver ran down Maria's spine. The message wasn't a threat, not exactly. It was a declaration, a recognition. Then, a new signal flickered on their screens. A single, colossal ship, radiating an aura of incomprehensible power, emerged from the void, its presence eclipsing the entire alien fleet. This was no ordinary warship. It was a beacon of unimaginable technology. The aliens, their sleek vessels now dwarfed and insignificant, scattered, their fear palpable, even through the comms. They were not the main force, just a scouting party. And this wasn't just a ship, it was a message. A message that was now looking directly at the Phoenix, a single, human-built spacecraft, a relic from a forgotten age. A message that whispered, "We have been watching." Maria's heart pounded in her chest. They had won a battle, but the war was far from over. The real threat, the one that could truly wipe humanity from existence, had just arrived. The alien fleet, their sleek, obsidian ships shimmering with an eerie, violet light, came to a grinding halt, their advance thwarted by a scrappy, cobbled-together contraption of human ingenuity. The remnants of their armada, tattered and bruised, stood in stark contrast to the proud, unwavering form of the primitive spacecraft the aptly named the Rusty Bucket. They stopped, Captain Anya, her face etched with exhaustion but her eyes alight with triumph, whispered. A wave of cheers erupted from the crew, a cacophony of relief and disbelief echoing through the cramped vessel. They had won, against all odds, against a technological marvel that surpassed anything humanity had ever conceived. But the victory was bittersweet. The cost had been high. Lives had been lost, The Earth was still in the aliens' sights, and the threat of their return loomed large. Anya, her hand resting on the worn console, a tangible reminder of the countless hours she had spent in its company, knew there was no time for celebration. There was much to do, much to rebuild. "Signal the Earth," she ordered, her voice firm despite the tremor that ran through her. "Tell them we've held them off, but it's not over yet. They'll be back. We need to prepare." The message, a testament to human resilience and courage, shot across the vastness of space, a beacon of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. But just as Anya, her shoulders slumped with exhaustion, was about to allow herself a moment of rest, a tremor shook the ship, a cold dread gripping her heart. The alien fleet, the one they thought had retreated, was back, this time accompanied by a colossal vessel, radiating with a power that dwarfed anything they had encountered before. The alien armada, their previous arrogance replaced with a cold, calculating fury, had returned, not to conquer, but to retrieve something far more valuable than any planet, a single, rusty, cobbled-together spacecraft named the Rusty Bucket. The humans had unwittingly stumbled upon something far more valuable than they could have ever imagined, a secret so powerful that it could rewrite the very fabric of reality. They had fought and won, but the true battle had only just begun. The alien armada, its monstrous vessels bristling with weapons, was a chilling sight. Yet the crew of the Old Glory remained steadfast. They had outrun the impossible, defied logic itself, and now they were ready to fight for their survival. The Old Glory, with its jury-rigged engines and cobbled-together defenses, was a David facing Goliath. But David, in this case, had a secret weapon, the audacity of the human spirit. As the alien ships closed in, the crew huddled around their archaic but beloved ship's console. The captain, his face etched with determination, barked orders. A flurry of activity filled the cramped control room. The ancient, clunky weapons hummed to life, spitting bolts of energy into the void, a desperate attempt to ward off the relentless onslaught. The battle was a spectacle of chaos and desperation. The Old Glory, a nimble underdog, weaved through the massive alien ships, utilizing its maneuverability to avoid the devastating fire of their weapons. But the odds were stacked against them. One by one, the Old Glory lost its engines, its shields flickering with fading energy. It was only a matter of time before the alien armada would overwhelm them. Yet, just as all hope seemed lost, a faint hum resonated through the ship. A surge of energy flooded the control room, revitalizing the ship's systems. The engines roared back to life, propelling the Old Glory forward with newfound strength. The crew, stunned by this unexpected turn of events, looked around in disbelief. A holographic image flickered to life on the console. A tall, slender figure, with skin the color of twilight, materialized in the air, her voice a melodic chime that filled the room. "Greetings, humans. We have been observing your progress. Your ingenuity, your courage, your spirit. It has impressed us. We are not your enemies." The alien figure paused, her eyes meeting the captain's. "We are here to offer you a place among the stars, a place in the galaxy where your primitive ingenuity can thrive." The crew exchanged shocked glances. The alien armada, a formidable threat, had just offered them an alliance. Was this a trick? The captain, however, saw this as an opportunity, a chance to learn, to grow, and to contribute to a larger galactic community. He knew the Old Glory was no match for the alien armada, but now he had a choice. The captain, with a determined nod, replied, "We accept your offer." The unexpected turn of events had completely altered the course of humanity's future. They were no longer alone, and their primitive spacecraft had just become the symbol of a new beginning. As the Old Glory, its engines humming with a renewed vigor, joined the alien armada, the universe held its breath. The story of humanity, once a tale of survival, was now a narrative of cooperation, a testament to the power of resilience and ingenuity. But the question lingered: what other secrets did the galaxy hold, and what other challenges awaited them on their journey to the stars? The Earth's fleet, cobbled together from scraps and ingenuity, had somehow outmaneuvered the alien armada. The impossible had happened. The primitive technology, ridiculed by the aliens, had proven to be their downfall. As the last of the enemy ships succumbed to the relentless assault, a wave of jubilation swept across the human fleet. The victory was a testament to human resilience, a beacon of hope in the face of insurmountable odds. But the celebration was short-lived. A faint, rhythmic pulse began to vibrate through the communications network. It was a signal, a pattern of pure energy, unlike anything they had ever encountered. It pulsed with an unsettling rhythm, growing in intensity. "What is that?" a voice crackled over the comms. "I don't know, but it's coming from everywhere," replied another. On every screen, across the entire fleet, the signal intensified. A wave of static began to engulf their systems, the rhythmic pulse morphing into a chaotic cacophony. "We're losing control." Then, silence. The last image captured on the human flagship showed the vast expanse of space, now filled with a swirling, pulsating energy. The signal, the unknown force, had enveloped everything. And then, in the silence, the question echoed, did we win, or did we just trigger something far worse? As the last alien vessel exploded, a silence descended upon the battlefield. We had won. Humanity, armed with ingenuity and desperation, had repelled an invasion from the stars. Our rickety, primitive spacecraft, cobbled together from salvaged junk and sheer willpower, had somehow outmaneuvered and destroyed an armada of advanced technology. A wave of relief washed over me, but it was quickly eclipsed by exhaustion. My eyes, blurry from sleep deprivation and the strain of battle, focused on the flickering screens in the bridge. We were adrift, with no communication, no rescue, no way to know what had become of Earth. The silence was broken by the frantic beeping of an alert. A new signal, faint and erratic, pulsed on the scanners. "What is it?" I asked, my voice hoarse. I don't know," stammered the young technician, his face pale. It's another ship, but it's not like anything we've seen before." The signal pulsed stronger, and the screens began to flicker. A blurry image materialized, revealing a vessel unlike anything we had ever seen. It was sleek, obsidian black, and impossibly large. An intricate web of lights flickered across its surface, and a single word pulsed on its hull: Protector. "Protector," I echoed, my mind reeling. But why? Before I could process the question, the ship's main engine ignited, bathing the entire bridge in an eerie blue light. The vessel, with a speed that defied logic, began to accelerate towards us. My heart hammered against my ribs. What was this Protector, and why was it coming for us? The answer, as the vessel drew closer, filled us all with a chilling realization. The aliens we had just fought weren't the invaders. They were the ones we had rescued. The Protector was their home, their sanctuary. We had just fought to protect their enemies. The alien armada, once a menacing tide of metal and fire, was now scattered debris, their advanced warships reduced to glowing wreckage. The victory was hard won, the cost of human ingenuity and desperation etched in the scarred hull of the Odyssey. But victory, however bittersweet, was still victory. Captain Anya Petrova, her face streaked with grime and sweat, finally allowed herself a smile. "We did it," she rasped, her voice hoarse from weeks of unrelenting tension. "We actually did it." The crew, a motley band of engineers, scientists, and soldiers, erupted in cheers. The tension that had gripped them for months finally broke, replaced by a wave of relief and euphoria. It was a celebration born of the impossible, a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity. "Now, about that primitive spacecraft," Anya said, her smile fading as she turned to the holographic display. "I think it's time we figured out what exactly it is." The display flickered, revealing the enigmatic craft, its shape shifting and shimmering, defying attempts at analysis. But before they could delve further, a tremor shook the Odyssey, a low, rumbling vibration that escalated into a full-blown shudder. Alarms blared, warning of a catastrophic system failure. The crew scrambled to their stations, their faces grim as the Odyssey bucked and swayed. Anya gripped the control panel, her eyes widening in disbelief as she watched the ship's energy readings plummet. "What's happening?" she yelled over the din, her voice cracking with fear. A voice, soft and melodious, echoed through the ship. A voice that seemed to emanate from the very fabric of reality itself. "We have been waiting for you, children of Earth." Anya froze, her heart pounding against her ribs. The voice continued, "The universe is a vast and interconnected place, and your actions have awakened something far greater than you can imagine." As the Odyssey plunged into an unknown fate, Anya realized with a chilling clarity that they had not escaped the alien threat, but merely exchanged one for something far more ancient and powerful, something that had been watching them all along. The victory they had so dearly won was just the beginning of a new and even more perilous chapter. Their primitive spacecraft, it seemed, was not just a tool of survival, but a key to a cosmic mystery, one that would reshape the fate of humanity and the universe itself. The alien armada, once a terrifying leviathan, now resembled a scattered flock of sheep. Their ships, once gleaming with advanced technology, were now pockmarked with burns and sputtering ineffectually. Their once prideful commander, the being who had so confidently declared their inevitable victory, now huddled in the wreckage of his flagship, his fear palpable even across the vast vacuum of space. But the triumph was bittersweet. The Earth's primitive spacecraft, the rusty, patched-up vessel named the Hope, had won. But at what cost? The crew was battered, their resources depleted, their bodies pushing the limits of human endurance. The victory, though a testament to human ingenuity and resilience, had left a bitter taste of exhaustion and loss. As the Hope limped toward Earth, Captain Elena Perez gazed at the pale blue dot on the horizon. It was a sight of beauty and comfort, yet it was marred by the memories of what they had left behind. The countless lives lost, the home planet ravaged by the alien invasion. This was not the victory they had envisioned. It was a Pyrrhic victory, a victory bought with blood and sacrifice. Elena felt a hand on her shoulder. It was David, the young engineer who had been instrumental in their survival. He was smiling, a weak, tired smile, but a smile nonetheless. "We did it, Captain," he said, his voice hoarse. Elena nodded, her heart heavy. "We did," she replied, "but at what cost?" Suddenly, the ship lurched violently. Alarm bells blared, flashing red. A new, powerful energy signature was detected on their radar, a signal that sent chills down their spines. David gasped, his eyes wide with fear. "What is it?" Elena's face hardened. "I don't know," she said, "but it's not our friends." The Hope shuddered again, the hull groaning under an unseen force. On the screen, a massive vessel, sleek and dark, materialized from the void, eclipsing the Earth in its grandeur. It was a ship that dwarfed even the largest of the alien armada, a vessel that seemed to exude an aura of power and ancient wisdom, and on its prow, a message in flashing lights, a message that sent a ripple of horror through the crew of the Hope. "You have been warned. There are things in the universe that even your combined efforts cannot withstand. You are mere infants in the cosmic cradle, playing with weapons beyond your comprehension. We are the guardians of this sector, and you have disturbed the balance. You will be punished." As the massive ship began its descent towards Earth, a single thought echoed in Elena's mind. The fight for survival had just begun. As the alien armada, a shimmering, multifaceted monstrosity of bioengineered warships, drew closer, the crew of the Rusty Bucket prepared for their final stand. They had managed the impossible, outrunning the aliens with their ancient, cobbled-together vessel, but they knew their luck couldn't hold forever. Captain Anya, her face streaked with grime and determination, addressed her crew. "We may be outmatched, but we're not outgunned. We built this ship from scrap. We fought our way across the galaxy, and we'll die on our own terms. Now let's give those fancy-pants aliens a show they won't forget." The crew cheered, a surge of adrenaline coursing through their veins. They knew the odds were stacked against them, but they were ready to fight. They manned their makeshift weapons, their hearts pounding with a primal fear and a strange, exhilarating anticipation. The alien armada unleashed its volley of energy blasts, targeting the Rusty Bucket with pinpoint precision. The ship shuddered, its ancient hull groaning under the onslaught. But then, something unexpected happened. The energy blasts, instead of incinerating the rusty bucket, seemed to absorb into the ship. The metallic hull glowed with an otherworldly light, and strange symbols, reminiscent of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, began to appear on the ship's surface. Anya felt a surge of power course through the ship, a sensation that was both terrifying and exhilarating. She stared in disbelief as the rusty bucket began to morph, its shape changing, its structure shifting. The rusty metal peeled away, revealing a gleaming, chrome-plated hull, adorned with complex circuitry and pulsating lights. The ship, once a rickety, patched-up vessel, had transformed into a sleek, futuristic spacecraft, its presence radiating power and an alien grace. As the transformed, rusty bucket faced the stunned alien armada, Captain Anya felt a whisper in her mind, a voice that seemed to come from the ship itself. "You have awakened me, child. Now, let us show them the true power of humanity." The alien armada, caught completely off guard, was left speechless. The rusty bucket had not just survived their attack, it had transcended it, becoming something far more powerful, far more ancient. The once primitive spacecraft, with its human crew, was now a beacon of hope and fear, poised to rewrite the very history of the galaxy. The alien armada, a hulking, metal leviathan of a fleet, had been decimated. The surviving ships, their sleek, chrome hulls scarred and smoking, limped away, defeated. They had come for conquest, but instead met with the unwavering spirit of a species they considered primitive. Captain Anya, her face streaked with grime and fatigue, watched the fleeing ships from the bridge of the Old Faithful, her heart pounding with a mix of relief and exhilaration. The mission had been a gamble, a desperate attempt to buy time for Earth to prepare. The Old Faithful was a relic, a cobbled-together mess of discarded technology, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. The aliens' arrogance had been their downfall. They had underestimated human potential, their technological prowess blinding them to the unpredictable nature of our species. Anya remembered the meeting with the alien envoy, a haughty creature with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that burned like molten gold. "We come for your resources, your planet," the alien had declared, his voice a cold, metallic whisper. "You have no chance against our might." Anya had only smiled, a flicker of mischief in her eyes. "We humans are a resourceful lot. We build our own miracles, even from scrap." And that they had done. Anya recalled the frantic, chaotic days of building the Old Faithful, piecing together technologies from abandoned projects, adapting outdated designs, pushing the boundaries of human ingenuity. The crew, a ragtag band of engineers, mechanics, and scientists, had worked tirelessly, fueled by a desperate hope. They had defied the odds, creating a vessel that, despite its ancient origins, could outmaneuver and outgun the alien armada. Their weapon was a marvel of scientific brilliance, a forgotten concept revived. They used the sun's energy, harnessed and channeled with intricate precision, to create a blinding, disintegrating wave of pure power. The Old Faithful had become a beacon of hope, a testament to the spirit of humanity, a reminder that even against insurmountable odds, we can overcome. The victory was a turning point. The aliens had learned their lesson. Earth, once considered a primitive backwater, was now a force to be reckoned with. Anya, as she gazed at the receding alien ships, knew the fight was far from over. But she also knew that humanity, fueled by its ingenuity and resilience, would face the future head-on. The message was clear: never underestimate the human spirit, for even in our most primitive forms, we hold the power to create miracles. The roar of the engines, once a cacophony of primal energy, subsided to a gentle hum. The sleek, metallic body of the primitive spacecraft, battered but still functional, drifted silently in the vast emptiness of space. Inside, Captain Anya Petrova, her face streaked with sweat and grime, took a deep, shaky breath. She had done it. She had outrun the alien armada, a feat deemed impossible by the very technology she had used to achieve it. Her gaze fell upon the worn map on the control panel, a faded representation of the galaxy. A single, bright star marked the location of their destination, Kepler 186f, a planet teeming with life. Anya's mission, entrusted to her by the remnants of humanity, was to find a new home, a place where the species could rebuild, away from the tyranny of the Xylorians. The Xylorians, a race of technologically advanced beings, had deemed humanity a threat, their primitive technology a dangerous anomaly in the galaxy. They had launched a relentless pursuit, intent on eliminating the human race. Anya, however, knew that their technology was not primitive, but rather a testament to human ingenuity, a product of an understanding of the universe that transcended brute force. Now, she had proven it. The Xylorians, with their sleek, impossibly complex vessels, had failed to catch the lumbering, primitive craft. A bittersweet victory, however, as her crew, a motley band of survivors, had dwindled to just a handful. Anya, haunted by the ghosts of those lost, turned to the only remaining crew member, the young engineer, Alex. His eyes, filled with awe and exhaustion, mirrored her own. "We made it, Alex," she said, her voice heavy with emotion. "We're finally safe." He nodded, his gaze fixed on the shimmering blue orb that was Kepler 186f. "But the Xylorians won't stop. They'll find us." Anya smiled, a flicker of defiance in her eyes. "Maybe, but we won't make it easy for them. We'll use our ingenuity, our resilience, the very things they underestimated. This planet, it's our chance to show them that humanity is not a threat, but a force to be reckoned with." She pointed to a faded inscription etched onto the control panel, a message from the first humans to venture into space. "We are humanity, and we will never be silenced." The inscription was a reminder, a testament to the spirit of humanity, the spirit that had allowed them to survive against all odds. As they descended towards Kepler 186f, Anya knew that their journey was just beginning. This new world was not just a refuge, but a chance to build a future that would stand as a beacon of human resilience, a testament to the boundless potential of a species that had been underestimated, yet had defied all expectations. The primitive spacecraft, a symbol of their past, would now be a foundation for their future. The story of humanity, far from being over, was just beginning its next chapter. The human ship, christened the Rusty Bucket by the crew, drifted silently in the heart of the alien fleet. Its battered hull, held together by duct tape and sheer luck, was a stark contrast to the sleek, intimidating warships surrounding it. Captain Sarah, eyes glued to the holographic displays, saw the alien commander's face contort in frustration as he repeated his message for the 10th time: "Surrender your vessel and technology or face annihilation." "Funny," Sarah muttered, tapping a button on her makeshift control panel. "They haven't considered that our technology is outdated. So outdated, in fact, that it's completely incomprehensible to them." The aliens had underestimated the power of human ingenuity, the power of adapting and innovating even when resources were scarce. Their own advanced technology, while impressive in its sophistication, was built on principles that were, in a way, too precise, too rigidly structured. Their calculations were based on perfect equations, perfect conditions, perfect outcomes. Sarah's ship, however, was a testament to chaos. Its engines, cobbled together from scavenged parts, ran on a chaotic symphony of impulses, barely clinging to the edge of control. This chaotic energy was, in the end, their salvation. The alien commander had, in his arrogance, underestimated the power of chaos. He had focused on the primitive appearance of the vessel, completely ignoring its true potential. With a final surge of power, the Rusty Bucket propelled itself forward, its chaotic energy warping the very fabric of space, creating an unpredictable ripple that engulfed the alien fleet. The aliens, accustomed to predictable, controlled movements, were caught off guard. Their sleek warships, designed for perfect maneuvers, were thrown into disarray by the unpredictable energy wave. The chaos they had underestimated was now their undoing. Their communication systems were scrambled, their weapons systems jammed. In the confusion, the Rusty Bucket slipped away, leaving behind a stunned alien fleet. Back on Earth, Sarah and her crew were greeted as heroes. They had defied the odds, outsmarted the invaders, and secured humanity's future. The victory, however, was more than just a military triumph. It was a reminder that true innovation wasn't about perfection, but about adaptability, about embracing the unpredictable, about harnessing the chaos. It was a lesson that humanity had learned the hard way, and one that would serve them well in the years to come. The rusty bucket was placed in a museum, a testament to the power of human ingenuity. Sarah, however, kept a single, battered control panel from the ship, a constant reminder of the day they outsmarted the aliens with their primitive technology, proving that sometimes the most unexpected solutions can be the most effective. As the last of the alien warships exploded in a fiery supernova of their own making, a weary silence descended upon the bridge of the battered Pioneer. Captain Anya Petrova, her face streaked with grime and sweat, stared at the holographic display, a mixture of relief and awe washing over her. They had done it. They had outrun, outmaneuvered, and outfought an enemy that was supposed to be technologically superior by centuries. "Report," she barked, her voice hoarse. "All systems green, Captain," reported Lieutenant Sato, his face mirroring her exhaustion. "We've sustained some damage, but nothing critical. We're still in pursuit of the main alien vessel, but it's heavily damaged and appears to be attempting to escape." Anya felt a flicker of doubt. They had won, but at what cost? The Pioneer was a testament to human ingenuity, but it was also a relic, a cobbled-together patchwork of technology, both ancient and innovative. Their victory was a testament to their adaptability, their ability to make do with what they had, to overcome the limitations imposed by their primitive technology. But it was a victory that came at a price. The alien flagship, a massive, shimmering leviathan, was still trying to escape. It was wounded, but it still posed a threat. Anya knew they couldn't afford to let it escape. They needed to know why they had been attacked, what their motives were. As the Pioneer closed in on the fleeing flagship, Anya ordered the remaining crew to stand by for the final engagement. This was the moment of truth, the time to unravel the mystery behind the invasion. But as they drew closer, something strange happened. The flagship's shields flickered, then dropped completely. A single, small shuttle detached itself from the main vessel and flew towards them. It was sleek and metallic, but unlike the other alien ships, it lacked the aggressive angularity. It looked almost organic. "What's happening?" Anya asked, her voice strained. "The main ship is surrendering, Captain," Sato reported. "The shuttle's heading our way, requesting communication." Anya's heart pounded with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. This was the moment they had been waiting for. They had won the battle, but the war had just begun. As the alien shuttle docked with the Pioneer, Anya took a deep breath and braced herself for the unknown. The door hissed open, and a figure stepped into the bridge. It was humanoid, but with features that were strangely familiar. It looked like a human, but with larger eyes and a faint shimmer to its skin. "Greetings," the alien said, its voice a melodic hum, almost like a song. "We come in peace." Anya stared at the figure, her mind racing. It spoke in a language that sounded oddly familiar, like a forgotten memory. "You are not like the others," Anya said, her voice barely a whisper. The alien smiled, a gentle, almost melancholic expression. "We are the keepers of the knowledge, the original architects of your civilization. We watched you from afar, witnessing your rise and your fall. We returned to see what you had become." Anya felt a chill run down her spine. It was all becoming clear. The aliens they had encountered were not the true architects of their species, but their descendants, driven by the same thirst for conquest and power that had driven their own ancestors. They had returned, not to conquer, but to reclaim their legacy. The alien continued, "We see now that you are not lost. You have remembered who you are. You have reclaimed your heritage. You have shown us that humanity can overcome its own failings." Anya looked at the Pioneer, her heart swelling with pride. Their primitive spacecraft had become a symbol of their resilience, a reminder that even the most advanced technology cannot replace the power of the human spirit. As the alien shuttle took off, heading back to its dying ship, Anya knew that their journey had just begun. They were no longer just survivors. They were the inheritors of a forgotten legacy. They had a responsibility to the universe, a responsibility to ensure that their ancestors' mistakes would not be repeated. And as the pioneers sailed through the stars, towards a new future, Anya whispered a single word to the cosmos: humanity. The victory, though hard-fought, was bittersweet. The alien armada had been destroyed, but Earth's future remained uncertain. The technology that had propelled them to victory, a relic of a forgotten age, was now lost, a whisper of what once was. The knowledge of their ancestors, once a forgotten relic, had saved them. Now, the burden of rebuilding a future, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy, lay on the shoulders of the survivors. With the embers of hope flickering in their hearts, they knew they could not afford to let this chance slip away. Their ancestors' legacy, a testament to the tenacity of humanity, would guide them as they embarked on this new chapter in their history.